Welcome back to Debt Free Degree Florida, where we're helping Florida college students graduate debt free. In today's episode, we're talking about loans, scholarships, and grants, and the differences between the three. Things like, do they need to be paid back? What can the money be used for? Is there a limit on how many you can earn? And how you can earn them. Before we get started, though, be sure to click that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let's go ahead and start off with scholarships and grants. Scholarships and grants, which are sometimes also called gift aid, do not need to be paid back. The main differences between scholarships and grants are where the money comes from, eligibility criteria, and the application process. In general, grants are based on financial need, whereas scholarships are merit-based, but there are financial need scholarships and merit-based grants. When we separate grants from scholarships, we can see the pros and cons of each. Like we mentioned earlier, grants do not need to be paid back. Once you earn the money, it is yours to keep, and you don't owe any money back to anyone. It is possible to earn more than one grant, and the application process is generally more straightforward than the application process for scholarships. Again, this may be due to most grants being based on financial need. Naturally, grants provide opportunities and funding for students from low income families to pursue higher education. Here we have an example of a grant program, the federal Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is usually awarded to undergraduate students who display exceptional financial need and haven't yet earned a bachelor's, graduate, or professional degree. Let's move on to talking about some of the downsides of grants. There are fewer grants available than scholarships, which make them tough to earn. Additionally, there are limited funds to provide, which means there is competition. Grants are often not enough to pay for all college expenses on their own, so students will likely need some form of scholarship, student loan, or income to sustain themselves in addition to the grant they are receiving. Finally, there are often more restrictions with funds coming from grants than funds coming from scholarships. In other words, grants are more strict with how you can spend the money that you're receiving. Scholarships are similar to grants in many ways. For example, neither scholarships nor grants need to be paid back. When we compare the number of scholarships available to students to the number of grants available, there are generally more scholarships available than grants. Hence, scholarships provide access to education to a larger number of students than grants do. Scholarships are oftentimes more common than grants because there are a variety of scholarships that are available for all types of students. Students with financial need, students with high GPAs, students in specialized programs, and so much more. Both scholarships and grants are great to include on student resumes because both are so competitive. However, do not let the scholarship or the grant take up space that could be better utilized by a work experience or a project you may have. In other words, don't feel like you need to put your award, your scholarship or grant award on your resume. Scholarships do have some downsides as well. Firstly, sometimes scholarship criteria can be subjective. Scholarship criteria can be extremely tough and difficult because there are so many scholarships available, and scholarships can differentiate themselves by being super niche and subjective. It can take time to find scholarships and gather what is needed to apply, and that comes with there being so many scholarships available and each scholarship likely needing different application materials. Oftentimes, students will not take the time to do this research and apply for scholarships. So, there are many scholarships that often go unawarded simply because there were no applicants that year. For the students who do apply for scholarships, though, competition is very high. Scholarships are the most common means of gift aid or free financial aid for students who are not eligible for grants. There are also often more conditions and requirements for maintaining scholarships than grants. We will go ahead and include the link down below for our Bright Futures scholarship video, as this serves as a great example for showcasing a scholarship with specific requirements and maintenance to keep the scholarship. Now, student loans are an entirely different beast than scholarships and grants. Student loans are divided into two types of loans: federal student loans and private loans. In general, federal loans are more desirable than private ones for many reasons. Federal loans have lower interest rates than private loans do, and they allow for payment flexibility, loan consolidation, and payment deferments. Private loans, on the other hand, are much more common than federal loans and are provided by private institutions. Places like banks and credit unions are some of the main providers of private student loans, and since they are funded by private institutions and not by the federal government, they are not protected by the same laws as federal loans are. Finally, private loans usually have higher interest rates than federal loans do, which means taking out a private loan can be more expensive than taking out a federal one. Just like scholarships and grants, student loans have an expansive list of pros and cons that should be considered when deciding if student loans are right for you. Student loans are easier to get compared to scholarships and grants, and they often provide a higher amount of money than other forms of financial aid. We mentioned earlier how scholarships and grants can be stingier when it comes to what you can use the award money on, but with student loans, the money you take out can be used on expenses other than your tuition. Finally, paying off student loans on time can help you build and establish credit. However, you should not be taking out a loan with your primary goal being to build and establish that credit. One of the worst parts about a student loan is it needs to be repaid with interest. What this means is you need to give back the amount of money plus interest that has accrued. As a very simplified example, if you take out a loan for $100 with a 6% interest rate, you would need to pay back $106, which is 6% more than the amount of the original loan. This 6% is known as the loan cost, or how much it costs for you to utilize that $100. Loan costs may be due before your graduation date, which could be difficult for students who aren't working yet, or maybe they haven't started earning enough money to pay on that loan. Not paying your loans off on time or defaulting to the loan will damage your credit. So it is extremely important to be careful and vigilant with this. Naturally, student loans bring a wide variety of questions, so let's walk through some of the most common ones about student loans. Question number 1. When do I have to start making loan payments? Federal student loans aren't due until you graduate, leave school, or change your status to less than a part-time student, whichever comes first. Private loans, on the other hand, are often due while you are still in school. Question number 2. What qualifies you for student loan forgiveness? Before we go ahead and answer this one, let's get some clarification. Student loan forgiveness is also known as student loan cancellation or student loan discharge, depending on the reason. More importantly, though, student loan forgiveness is only possible with federal student loans. If you have a private loan, you cannot get that loan forgiven. Common reasons for loan forgiveness include, but are not limited to, teaching in a low-income school for a total of 5 years, your school closes while you are enrolled or shortly thereafter, or you work in a qualifying government or nonprofit job for 10 years total and repay your loans based on your income. Number 3, what types of federal student loans are available? Subsidized loans are available to students who have financial need. The government will pay your interest while you are in school on these loans. Unsubsidized loans are the opposite. They are available for all students regardless of financial need, and the student is responsible for all interest payments on those loans. What do you think? How are you planning to pay for school? If you've already graduated, did you utilize scholarships, grants, loans, or did you pay for school another way? Leave us a comment down below and share your experience with us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.